Hi, welcome to FinFlow Podcast. What if everything you thought you needed to do to get rich was actually, well, keeping you poor? We're talking about more than just, smart investments or landing that big raise. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some surprising, often quite uncomfortable behaviors that highly successful individuals have consciously, deliberately cut out of their lives, and how making similar shifts, well, it can profoundly transform your financial future and maybe even your overall happiness. We've been looking at some incredibly candid insights from someone who went from really struggling financially at 22 to selling 3 companies by 29, all by identifying and, crucially, eliminating these specific patterns. Our mission for you today is to really unpack these 5 habits, understand the deep why behind them, and give you practical, actionable insights, things you can use, to start making these crucial changes in your own life, like right now. This isn't about chasing quick fixes. It's really about making fundamental, lasting shifts that lead to genuine, enduring success.
Yeah, and it's truly fascinating how the wisdom we're exploring here extends far beyond just, accumulating money. These principles touch on fundamental aspects like self-discipline, resilience when things get tough, the quality of our personal relationships, and ultimately how we view ourselves and our potential. When we connect this to the bigger picture, we see that it's about constructing an unshakable foundation for our lives, not just like piling up a fragile stack of cash that could easily tumble down. What often feels easy or safe, maybe even comfortable in the moment, is paradoxically precisely what tends to hold us back. Holds us back from significant growth and true accumulation. It truly demands a complete shift in mindset, doesn't it?
It really does. All right, let's dive into the first habit. And this one might seem deceptively simple, almost too obvious, the habit of quitting. But I assure you, it's far more insidious and damaging than merely giving up on, say, a single project. The core idea here is that every time something gets difficult, every time you encounter resistance, and your immediate response is to just abandon it and start something new. You're creating a direct and profound impediment, a roadblock to building genuine wealth and sustainable progress. This pattern doesn't just keep you poor financially. It actually erodes your self-confidence, your belief in your own capabilities. The insights we've been examining highlight a stark truth. Discipline is what ultimately makes you rich. And conversely, the habit of quitting, of constantly seeking a fresh start the moment things get uncomfortable. Well, that's what keeps you trapped. Trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. It's probably the fastest way to succeed at absolutely nothing. Perpetually chasing the next shiny object without ever reaping the rewards of true commitment. Think about it through a lens we can all relate to, maybe like the fitness journey we've heard about. Imagine someone who wants to get in shape. They enthusiastically sign up for Orange Theory for a month, right? But as soon as the workouts become challenging or maybe the initial novelty wears off, they declare, oh, Orange Theory it didn't work for me. Yeah. So they switch gears. They move on to CrossFit for 3 months, only to reach a similar conclusion. Yeah, CrossFit didn't work either. Then perhaps it's off to yoga or some other trendy regimen. The blunt, uncomfortable truth, as we've encountered, is often, well, nothing works for you because you don't work. It's not about the opportunity itself, whether it's Orange Theory, CrossFit, or yoga, or the specific type of workout. The fundamental issue lies with the person's consistency, their deep-seated inability to stick with something long enough to truly integrate it, understand its nuances, and see tangible results. You keep popping from one promising endeavor to another, never actually allowing yourself to earn the reward that comes from deep, sustained effort within a single commitment. This constant movement prevents you from ever reaching that critical inflection point where mastery begins to pay dividends.
Exactly. And this pattern applies so vividly to our professional lives, too. It's uncanny. We witness so many individuals constantly seeking a new venture, maybe a new side hustle, or even just a new job, rather than finding creative, resilient ways to fix or optimize or truly excel within their current roles or projects. The underlying message here is profound. The problem isn't usually a lack of opportunity in the world. Often, the real impediment is a lack of skill in seeing and maximizing the existing opportunities right there in front of us. It's that pervasive feeling of, uh-oh, I don't possess the skill set or maybe the mental fortitude to reach the next level in this current vehicle, so I guess I must need a different vehicle. But what we consistently observe among those who truly win, those who build significant and lasting wealth, is that they are the ones who persist precisely when things become boring, or when they're genuinely painful, or when the path forward is frustratingly unclear. They possess an unwavering commitment to finding a way forward, rather than spending countless hours endlessly searching online for, the 5 jobs that will make me rich. The profound wisdom here is that true progress comes from maximizing the opportunity you currently have at hand by diligently working on your skills and your resilience, not by always abandoning it for the perceived next best thing. And when we connect this to the bigger picture, it certainly raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? Are we mistaking temporary discomfort or initial difficulty for an absolute dead end? The insights we've explored suggest that those who truly achieve significant, enduring success, those who build substantial wealth, are the ones who demonstrate remarkable persistence when faced with boredom, pain, or uncertainty. They commit wholeheartedly to navigating the path forward. This critical journey can be powerfully illustrated by what often referred to as the valley of death in any new endeavor. Imagine for a moment starting a new business, embarking on a side hustle, or even taking on a new challenging role at your job. There's an exhilarating initial phase of uninformed optimism. You're brimming with excitement, genuinely believing it will be amazing, and crucially, much easier than anything you've tried before. You might think, this is going to be a breeze. I can definitely make money with this. I can close this deal. This time it will be different. You're on a high. But then, inevitably, shortly after that initial excitement, you plunge into informed pessimism. This is the dreaded valley of death. This is where the true resistance sets in, where you encounter the genuine, unvarnished difficulty of the endeavor. Your thoughts might start to spiral. Wow, this is so much harder than I ever imagined. Perhaps this isn't the right opportunity for me. The market is terrible. It's far too competitive. You begin to craft excuses to justify why this particular path isn't working out. You hit a wall of resistance, and the immediate ingrained thought for many is to simply give up and pivot to something else. The profound tragedy really is that most people die in this valley, not because the core idea was inherently flawed or the market was truly wrong, but because they pivot too soon. Right at the moment, it becomes deeply uncomfortable and challenging. That ingrained habit of abandoning ship, of consistently quitting when the going gets tough, is precisely what prevents so many from accumulating real, lasting wealth and expertise. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy of underachievement.
So what does this all mean for you, for your own journey? It's fundamentally about developing what we call frustration tolerance. And this isn't merely about cultivating patience, though patience is part of it. It's about actively, consciously tolerating negative feelings, embracing discomfort, and enduring upsetness for extended periods, understanding that these are the necessary precursors to reaping significant rewards. The individual whose journey we've been examining shared that a key factor in their ability to accumulate substantial wealth and personal happiness was precisely this: developing an extraordinarily high frustration tolerance. They candidly describe themselves as good at being frustrated, and they embrace this quality because it means they possess the unique capacity to make most things work. People often find themselves asking, is this the best opportunity for me right now? We all do it. But a truly profound insight here is that the skill of making the most of any opportunity is far, far more valuable, more empowering than merely being adept at picking the quote-unquote best opportunity. And why is this the case? Because inevitably, within any 12-month period, a seemingly better or more appealing opportunity will probably present itself. It always does. If you adopt a habit of jumping ship every 12 months, perpetually chasing the better next thing, you will never, ever be able to truly maximize, iterate, and draw out the full potential of the one you're currently immersed in. So the ultimate goal becomes to cultivate the mindset and the skill set of a person who can genuinely make anything work. This principle applies universally across all domains of life. You can make a marriage work, a long-distance relationship thrive, a modest small business like a laundromat flourish, or even build a multi-million-dollar media company. It's all about embodying the type of person who can make it work. More often than not, failure isn't because your idea was inherently poor or your venture unviable. It's because you haven't stuck with any idea long enough to truly understand its intricate pitfalls, to discover how it genuinely operates and where its weaknesses lie, to learn how to intelligently iterate and pivot within the framework, and ultimately, to drive it to resounding success. The vast majority of failures stem not from bad ideas, but from insufficient persistence and a critical lack of frustration tolerance. It's quite humbling when you think about it.
It is, and it's truly fascinating to consider the mental paradigm shift required here. Moving from the thought, okay, I need a new vehicle to get where I'm going, to the far more empowering realization, wait, I need to master the vehicle I'm currently in. This perspective speaks directly to an internal locus of control, right? A deep-seated belief that skill development and personal resilience are the true keys to unlocking progress, rather than perpetually seeking better external circumstances or opportunities. This highlights the immense internal strength necessary for achieving long-term, sustained success. And when we reflect on how our modern society, with its, glorification of pivot culture and the whole startup mentality, can sometimes inadvertently encourage this very quitting habit, well, it becomes clear that there's a vital counter-narrative needed. While adaptability and strategic pivoting are certainly important entrepreneurial traits, there's a very fine, often blurred line between making a smart, calculated pivot and simply giving up prematurely when faced with genuine difficulty. For someone looking to practically build this crucial frustration tolerance, they might begin by deliberately setting small, difficult goals for themselves and committing to seeing them through, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Another powerful technique is to occasionally consciously choose the harder path in daily life. Maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator or tackling a challenging task first thing in the morning, simply to exercise that mental muscle of endurance and discomfort. It's all about intentionally building a higher threshold for the boring, the painful, and the unclear aspects that are inherent in any meaningful journey towards an ambitious goal.
Absolutely. Now, here's where things get really interesting, and for many, this is another uncomfortable truth. The second habit to cut for true wealth accumulation is stopping the constant, relentless seeking of approval from others. I mean, how often do we find ourselves waiting for someone else, a parent, a friend, a mentor even, like a stranger on social media, to give us permission, to say go, or to validate the life choices we desperately want to make? The consequence of this behavior is profoundly impactful. When you consistently wait for others to grant you their approval or permission, you are, in essence, handing them control over your entire future. It's huge. You are effectively outsourcing your own inherent confidence, your personal conviction, to their opinions, their fears, and their often limited perspectives. We've heard a truly powerful story that vividly illustrates this point. The individual behind these insights recalled making a monumental decision to move to California with only $5,000 to their name, without knowing a single person in the entire state. Imagine that. What's even more striking is that they face universal disapproval from their entire family and close circle of friends. Everyone, from their father to their siblings to their dearest friends, they were emphatically telling them, "You're absolutely crazy. What on earth are you doing?" There was just zero external support. None. Yet the conviction that drove them was entirely internal. Their decision was rooted in an inner knowing, an alignment with the kind of bold, decisive moves that successful people, the very individuals they aspired to emulate, would make. It was about taking that courageous jump, despite the deafening chorus of external doubt and fear. They consciously reclaimed that confidence, realizing they had the inherent right to decide to do something simply because they wanted to do it, because they approved of it themselves. This pivotal moment, driven by internal conviction rather than external validation, ultimately proved to be one of the very best decisions of their entire life. What a story.
It really is. And what's truly compelling here is the powerful concept of building your future board of directors. Instead of reflexively seeking approval from those immediately around you, individuals who, frankly, may not possess the life you truly aspire to, the critical question shifts. It becomes, would the people I deeply admire, the individuals who have already achieved the success I'm striving for, would they approve of this decision I'm contemplating? Unquote. This thought exercise fundamentally redirects your focus from external validation to an internalized standard of excellence and ambition. It becomes an incredibly potent filter for making decisions. It forces you to consider a higher standard, doesn't it? It's like asking yourself, what would my most ambitious, successful future self advise me to do right now?
Exactly. And this brings up an incredibly important question for you, the listener. Are the people you're consistently seeking approval from even living the life they truly want? Seriously, take a moment to reflect on that. If your honest answer is no, well then why? Why are you letting their fears, their limitations, and their comfort zones dictate your own choices and circumscribe your potential? This is the insidious trap of constantly asking too many people for their opinions, whether it's your parents, your spouse, your colleagues, or even that vast, often contradictory feedback loop of social media. The inevitable result is paralysis and profound confusion. You get bombarded with a deluge of conflicting opinions and contradictory evidence, which often leads to just defaulting to inaction because you simply have no clear idea what step to take next. The profound insight here is that asking for more opinions does not create clarity. Rather, action itself creates clarity. You learn by doing. And perhaps most ironically, Constantly seeking external approval often leads to more confusion, not conviction.
Absolutely. And when we connect this to the broader landscape of human interaction, it becomes clear that much of the advice we receive from others, even from well-meaning loved ones, is often rooted in their own fears and experiences of failure. Rather than being informed by genuine knowledge or proven success, they inadvertently project their own limitations onto you. You've likely heard it before, right? Anecdotes like, oh, this one time this person tried to do X and it didn't work out for them, so you absolutely should be scared forever. This kind of advice, while potentially offered with the best intentions, can be incredibly detrimental to your own aspirations. Truly successful individuals, those who build wealth and achieve ambitious goals, do so through unwavering conviction, not by achieving unanimous consensus from every single person in their lives. The insights we're studying go so far as to provocatively state, if everybody approves of your decision, it's probably wrong, which is quite a statement. This challenges the very notion that popular opinion inherently equates to correctness or wisdom. It suggests that truly groundbreaking decisions are often met with skepticism, not applause. In our current digital age, social media in particular can significantly amplify this need for approval, creating a constant, often exhausting feedback loop that can severely hinder bold and decisive action. To practically cultivate internal conviction, one might begin by clearly defining their personal values and then consistently practicing small acts of self-approval. Making decisions based on what they genuinely believe is right, even if it goes against the grain. And then taking full ownership of the outcomes, regardless of external reactions. It's about building that inner compass.
Yeah, building that inner compass. I like that. Okay, let's unpack this next one, and I suspect this particular habit might resonate deeply with a lot of people listening. Stop chasing external investments before you've truly committed to investing in yourself. Now, this isn't to suggest that investing is inherently bad, quite the opposite. But it's about understanding and prioritizing the fundamental order of operations, getting things in the right sequence. The core problem we've identified is a pervasive tendency to try and multiply money, generate returns on capital, before you've consistently and effectively learned how to earn it in the first place. Many people, especially when they have only a few $1,000s saved, immediately focus on questions like, how do I make more money with my money? Yet they haven't even mastered a foundational art of consistently earning a significant self-generated income. It's a fundamentally backward approach, particularly in those crucial early stages of wealth creation. The individual whose journey we're charting shared their intensely personal strategy from when they were first starting out. It's quite revealing. They vividly recounted how, after taking that initial courageous bet on themselves by relocating to California, they literally spent every single dollar they earned on self-investment. Every dollar. This wasn't frivolous spending, mind you. It meant diligently buying educational courses, actively seeking out and paying for mentors, and enrolling in programs designed to enhance their skills and knowledge. They made deliberate sacrifices in external appearances, forsaking things like manicures or expensive hairstyling, because every available resource was channeled into the question, how do I get the maximum return on my skills, on my abilities, on me? Their focus was entirely on building internal character, competence, and a robust skill set, rather than projecting outward displays of wealth they hadn't yet truly earned. They specifically recalled a direct, if maybe a bit crude phrase that served as a constant reminder. You can't put lipstick on a pig. This powerful, visceral reminder underscored that external adornments, a fancy watch, designer clothes, and expensive car ultimately mean nothing if you haven't first invested deeply in becoming the capable, valuable person you genuinely want to be on the inside. Without that foundational internal investment, any outward display is merely a facade, right? An inauthentic lie. They attribute much of their success in their 20s to this relentless focus on investing in themselves, a decision they firmly believe was the single best they could have possibly made at that time.
That phrase, you can't put lipstick on a pig, while, yeah, maybe direct, powerfully conveys a critical insight. External adornments. They're ultimately meaningless if you haven't first invested profoundly in becoming the person you want to be internally. It's fundamentally about cultivating character, shaping your mindset, and rigorously developing your skills. It's the inside work. This perspective asserts that your internal state, your inherent capabilities, and your ongoing personal development are exponentially more important and more valuable than any superficial display of wealth. It's about building genuine, enduring value within yourself first and foremost, recognizing that true substance always precedes sustainable style. And, chasing external validation through possessions before internal mastery often leads to a deeper sense of imposter syndrome, I think, where your outward presentation doesn't align with your internal sense of competence or self-worth. That can potentially cause long-term damage to your authentic self-esteem.
Definitely. So for you, the listener, what does all this truly mean? The insight we're exploring makes a profound and compelling claim. The greatest return on investment, the best ROI you will ever achieve, particularly in the initial stages of your wealth-building journey, will be in your skill set, in your character, and fundamentally in who you are as an individual. Many people, as we've observed, find themselves with maybe a couple of thousand or even $50,000 saved, and their immediate instinct is to jump online, furiously searching for how do I get rich quick, or how do I buy crypto, or which stock should I invest in. Well, yet these same individuals often hesitate or outright refuse to invest in tangible self-improvement. They won't hire a personal trainer to optimize their physical energy. They won't purchase a course that could unlock a new high-income skill. They won't seek out a mentor or a coach who could provide invaluable guidance. And they often shy away from actively seeking proximity to people who are already where they aspire to be. They are reluctant to even take the calculated risk of pursuing a job that strategically moves them forward in life, maybe because it might not offer immediate comfort or security. They haven't yet mastered the consistent earning of money for themselves, and yet they are attempting to multiply capital they don't know how to reliably generate. It doesn't make sense when you frame it like that. The clear, actionable advice is this. Until you are consistently generating substantial income for yourself, let's say, hypothetically, reaching a seven-figure annual income, maybe pause your efforts to try and invest money like someone who is already wealthy. Instead, shift your focus entirely and ask yourself, how can I strategically use this money to build myself? You, unequivocally, are the greatest investment you are ever going to make.
Absolutely. And when we connect this to the broader economic and personal development landscape, it fundamentally challenges the common perception that immediate financial market gains are the ultimate or even primary goal. Instead, it brilliantly positions your skills, your mindset, your character as the absolute primary asset. It puts you center stage. Consider this. If you can develop the capability to transform through your own developed skills and personal evolution an initial $1,000 into $10,000, well, that extraordinary return on your self-investment will far, far outpace the typical returns you might achieve in conventional financial markets. This process is about making yourself undeniably too valuable to ignore. A crucial element here, and honestly, one of the rarest qualities we encounter in today's fast-paced world, is profound patience. Real patience. This kind of deep self-investment doesn't offer instant gratification. You won't be refreshing an app every few minutes for a dopamine hit from volatile market fluctuations. It's not that kind of game. However, the returns, while not immediate, are almost guaranteed over time. In a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, this investment in yourself will demonstrably pay off, yielding exponential growth in your capabilities and earning power. Our contemporary dopamine-driven society, with its constant instant notifications and real-time market updates, often severely hinders this vital, long-term self-investment mindset. It pulls us towards the short term. To thoughtfully evaluate what specific kind of self-investment offers the best ROI for them, an individual might consider areas where they genuinely feel a lack of fundamental skill, or where a strategic mentor could significantly accelerate their learning curve, or maybe where a targeted course or program could unlock a new high-income generating capability. It's an essential process of looking inwards, assessing your own needs and potential, before looking outwards for fleeting quick gains.
Looking inwards first, that's key. Now, here's where things get really thought-provoking, and it represents another uncomfortable truth many people grapple with. You absolutely must stop taking money advice from people who haven't actually made significant money themselves. It sounds incredibly harsh, I know. But let's approach this with simple logic, like before. The person whose journey we're exploring poses a direct question. Would you seriously take fitness advice from someone who is visibly out of shape, someone who hasn't achieved the physical results you desire? Probably not. Then why, they compellingly ask, would you consistently take financial advice that directly impacts your future and your freedom from someone who demonstrably does not possess the money or financial success that you aspire to? This individual openly shared that they spent years diligently taking money advice from people who themselves did not have money. And guess what? Consequently, they remained stuck, unable to break free from their financial struggles. Everything, they emphasize, radically changed for them when they made a deliberate, conscious, and rather blunt decision. From now on, I'm only going to take money advice from people who have actually made money, who have built real wealth, period. This principle sounds incredibly simple on the surface, but its implications are profound. We are so deeply programmed, aren't we, to listen to the opinions and advice of our family and friends, often out of loyalty or affection, that we frequently neglect to ask ourselves the most basic yet critical question. Are these individuals even qualified based on their own lived financial experience to offer us the kind of guidance we need to achieve our ambitious financial goals? Their intentions might be pure gold, but their advice could be rooted in their own limitations, their own financial ceiling.
Yeah, it's truly fascinating to observe the concept that your circle is your ceiling. The people you consistently interact with, your family, your friends, your immediate social circle, their opinions, their advice, and even their subconscious beliefs about money can profoundly influence your own financial trajectory, often without you even fully realizing if they are genuinely qualified to impart that wisdom. Their worldview, their deeply ingrained relationship with money, their comfort zones all subtly yet powerfully shape your own perspective and your perceived limits. This underscores the subtle, almost osmotic way in which we absorb mindsets and standards from our environment. It just seeps in.
It really does. So what does this all mean for you? If you find yourself in a situation where you can't physically be around people who have more money, and let's be honest, in the very beginning of a wealth-building journey, this is often the case for many of us. The wisdom we've been exploring provides clear, actionable pathways. One option, maybe a drastic but potentially effective one, is to consider moving somewhere where people generally have more money, where wealth is more visible and common. A change of scenery. However, if physical relocation isn't immediately feasible or desirable, you can still strategically immerse yourself. You absolutely can. You can actively seek out and observe successful individuals online, purchase their educational courses, or delve into their books and autobiographies. Read everything you can. The overarching goal is to deliberately immerse yourself in that distinct mindset, in that different relationship with money, and to allow a new narrative to take root in your own consciousness. A significant driving force behind this individual's move from Michigan to California was a stark realization they had after reading a particular book. They realized, wow, my entire life is full of financially limited individuals. Everyone around me, nobody truly understands how money works on a large scale. So they made the courageous decision to move, simply to be physically present around people who have money, just to hear them speak about it, to observe their habits and perspectives. This relocation, they vividly recount, created the biggest cultural shock and money shock they had ever experienced. It blew their mind. Just seeing the nuanced, often counterintuitive relationship wealthy people had with money began to forge an entirely new narrative in their mind. They realized that their own lifelong relationship with money, shaped by their previous environment, was fundamentally flawed for their aspirations. But they would never have grasped that without stepping out of their familiar environment and into a profoundly different one. This wasn't necessarily about forging deep friendships with wealthy individuals, at least not initially. It was about sheer exposure, observing conversations unfolding in high-end restaurants, noticing interactions in exclusive gyms, simply walking along the pier and soaking in the environment. Listening. It was about picking up subtle cues, internalizing different standards, and truly grasping that when you have sustained proximity to people who already possess what you desire, your own minimum acceptable standards dramatically change. That, they emphasize, is when you are truly able to level up your entire life. It shifts everything.
It really does. And when we connect this to the broader principles of human behavior and success, it becomes abundantly clear that proximity to success inevitably changes your personal standards. It just happens. When your new internal minimum acceptable standard becomes making a substantial amount of money, maybe $1 million a year, your brain, which is a remarkably powerful problem-solving machine, actively begins to find ways to achieve that goal. This is because anything less now becomes genuinely unacceptable within that newly adopted environment and mindset. It's a profound rewiring of your internal narrative, a recalibration of what you believe is possible and what you deem necessary. The inherent danger of listening to people who have limited financial success, even if they are well-meaning loved ones, is that their advice is often rooted in their own limitations, their own fears, and their own unexamined beliefs, rather than being grounded in genuine wealth-building principles. For example, if your parents have consistently made, say, $100,000 a year and you aspire to earn $300,000 or $400,000, relying solely on their financial advice is highly unlikely to guide you to your expanded goals. It's just different scales. The powerful, even stark statement, "No advice is better than bad advice," strongly underscores this point. Sometimes silence is golden. To politely navigate advice from well-meaning but financially struggling loved ones without causing undue friction. Well, one effective approach is to genuinely listen, acknowledge their concern with gratitude. Perhaps saying something like, "Thank you for your concern, I truly appreciate you looking out for me," but then firmly yet gently state, I'm exploring a different approach right now, one that aligns with my specific goals, and I'm committed to seeing it through. And to create that virtual proximity to wealthy mindsets, if physical relocation isn't an option, you can actively and strategically seek out specific types of media. Immerse yourself in documentaries about successful entrepreneurs, listen to interviews with industry leaders, subscribe to podcasts like this one, focused on entrepreneurial growth and financial wisdom, and engage with online communities that foster high level financial discussion and ambitious goal setting. There are ways.
Absolutely, there are ways. Okay, let's unpack this final habit. And I want to acknowledge up front that this one can be incredibly sensitive. It touches on deeply personal aspects of our lives. However, the insights we've been exploring insist is absolutely crucial for genuine wealth building. You must stop choosing unsupportive partners. This isn't just about fostering emotional well-being, though that's certainly important. It's presented as a fundamental, non-negotiable financial decision, perhaps the most impactful one you'll ever make. The core argument is unequivocally clear. You simply cannot build wealth. You cannot build an empire with someone who actively fears your growth, who subtly or overtly sabotages your ambitions. The powerful statement made is chillingly direct. A wrong partner will cost you more than any bad investment you could ever make. Wow. The underlying connection between money and power is absolutely critical to grasp here. Money, in its essence, represents a form of power, the power of choice, of freedom, of opportunity. And if you find yourself with an unsupportive partner, they might not want you to accumulate money, precisely because they subconsciously or consciously don't want you to possess that expanded power. This can stem from a complex web of fears or insecurities on their part. Maybe fear of losing control, fear of the relationship, dynamic shifting, fear of being left behind, or even a deep-seated belief that money itself is somehow bad or corrupting. The individual whose wisdom we're sharing has observed this dynamic play out countless times in the lives of others, even if they haven't personally experienced its most extreme forms. It's a pervasive pattern that can subtly, yet devastatingly, undermine one's potential.
It really is fascinating and quite sobering to delve into the multifaceted nature of a partner's fear of your success. It's rarely as simple as them just thinking money is evil or that working hard is inherently wrong. It's usually more complex than that. The insights we've been considering suggest that your accumulation of wealth, your rising status, or your increased autonomy can trigger profound insecurities in an unsupportive partner. It might expose their own inability or perceived inability to achieve similar success, leading to resentment. It can fundamentally shift the power dynamic within the relationship, making them feel less significant or perhaps less in control. Moreover, money undeniably represents increased freedom and options for you. As you gain more financial freedom and flexibility, an unsupportive partner might perceive this as a threat, perhaps implying that they are just one of many options in your life, not only as a spouse, but also in terms of how you choose to spend your valuable time. For instance, having more money grants you the freedom to pursue diverse interests, travel expensively, or dedicate more hours to passion projects rather than simply settling into a comfortable routine of, say, watching movies at home every night. That change might be perceived as a direct threat to the status quo of the relationship. These fears can lead to subtle forms of sabotage, like undermining your confidence or questioning your ambition.
Yeah, and the insights we've encountered provide a particularly powerful anecdote that really underscores this point. We heard about an incredibly high-performing individual within the person's company, someone with immense drive and talent, top tier. This individual entered into a relationship with someone who didn't earn a lot of money, held deeply ingrained beliefs that money was inherently bad, believed that working hard or having significant ambition was wrong, and harbored various other negative perspectives about wealth and success. Over time, the high performer's exceptional professional performance visibly degraded. It was noticeable. They essentially went to the level of this unsupportive spouse. What was specifically observed was this talented individual actively dulling their shine, kind of putting out their own light, and consistently taking fewer risks in their career and investments. Holding back. Why? Because the person closest to them, their intimate partner, was literally sowing insidious seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity into their mind on a daily basis. This constant erosion of confidence, coming from the most trusted source, proved to be an insurmountable obstacle to their continued growth. It just ground them down. So what does this all mean for you as you navigate your own life and relationships? Whether you like it or not, and I recognize this can be an incredibly hard pill to swallow, the people closest to you, especially your spouse or long-term partner, are the ones who will profoundly shape the majority of your thoughts, your core beliefs, and your daily reality. They just will. They will significantly influence how you perceive yourself, your capabilities, and your potential in the world. The reality is, many people don't want to confront this uncomfortable truth. But the wisdom we've explored states it starkly. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will steal your potential faster than a partner who resents your success. You inherently deserve someone who genuinely makes your life better, not worse. You need a partner who makes you more confident, more ambitious, and more self-assured, not less so. And if this particular insight about unsupportive partners feels triggering for you, if it stirs up a sense of unease or discomfort, well, that might itself be a profoundly important sign. It could be an invitation to deeply reflect on your current situation and consider what genuine support truly looks like in your most intimate relationship.
Absolutely. And when we connect this to the broader philosophy of building not just wealth, but a truly fulfilling and meaningful life, it's fundamentally about choosing someone who multiplies your success, who amplifies your strengths, rather than someone who constantly subtracts from your potential and drains your energy. Building wealth, building something truly worth building, and indeed navigating life in general, is already inherently challenging. It's hard enough to attempt this arduous journey with someone who is actively sabotaging your progress, who opposes everything you aspire to achieve, or who consistently makes you feel worse about yourself. Well, that's like placing an almost insurmountable obstacle in your own path. This is precisely the opposite of what you need to thrive. The ideal partner, therefore, is someone who demonstrably makes your life better, who actively bolsters your confidence, and who genuinely celebrates your growth and achievements as if they were their own. They're your biggest cheerleader. This isn't about finding a financially identical partner or someone with the exact same career path. It's about finding someone with a deeply supportive mindset, someone who champions your ambition and your dreams rather than fearing or resenting them. For couples to successfully navigate potentially differing views on money and ambition, crucial, honest conversations must happen before serious commitment. Really important. This involves establishing shared financial goals, articulating individual aspirations, and fostering an environment of mutual respect for each other's pursuits, ensuring they align with the broader vision and values of the partnership as a whole. It demands empathy, open and clear communication, and a shared understanding that personal growth for both individuals ultimately benefits the strength and longevity of the relationship itself.
That's so well put. So we've taken a truly deep dive into 5 incredibly impactful habits that, according to the insights we've examined, you absolutely must quit for sustainable wealth. Let's quickly recap. Stopping the habit of quitting when things get tough. Stopping the constant seeking of external approval. Stopping the impulse to chase investments before truly investing in yourself. Stopping the practice of listening to financial advice from people who haven't actually built wealth. And finally, stopping the pattern of choosing unsupportive partners. The overarching message, crystal clear after our exploration today, is this. Staying poor or remaining stuck in a cycle of mediocrity is often, well, it's easy. It's easy because it means consistently doing what feels good in the immediate moment. It means avoiding those hard, uncomfortable conversations. It means listening to the wrong people who reinforce your limitations. And it means deliberately avoiding the uncomfortable yet transformative truths about yourself and your environment. Building genuine wealth, both financial wealth and the invaluable wealth of meaning, fulfillment, and unwavering confidence, demands doing the exact opposite.
It requires actively embracing discomfort, courageously challenging your ingrained patterns, and making deliberate choices that propel you towards your highest potential.
Yeah, and this profound understanding naturally raises an important question for you to ponder long after our conversation today winds down. In which of these 5 crucial areas do you identify your greatest opportunity for growth? Not just for the numbers in your bank account, but for who you are actively becoming as a person. Where's your biggest leverage point? Consider this. True wealth isn't merely about the digits in your financial statement. It's the expansive freedom and the deep-seated conviction you cultivate by consistently living a life aligned with your absolute highest potential. What small, perhaps uncomfortable, but profoundly impactful action can you commit to taking this week, maybe even today, to begin stopping just one of these habits? And in doing so, start building that deeper, more resilient, and truly authentic kind of wealth in your life. Something to really think about.
Definitely something to think about. That wraps up another deep dive into truly impactful insights. We hope you feel more informed, more empowered, and genuinely ready to take on these challenges in your own life. Thanks for watching this. See you in the next episode. Like, subscribe, and share.